the RX 580 8GB, and this card is one that I have wanted to do for a while. Now, I really like XFX and the shrouds that they make. I think the plating looks really nice. It's this back plate is fully metal. This is plastic, but it is high quality plastic, and this whole thing just feels kind of premium, especially for the price that it costs. And so this is the RX 580 8GB V2 OC Plus. You can see the box there in the background. And yeah, this is sort of AMD's answer to the 1060 to 1070 or 1660. Now, in some cases, even the 1060 6GB is better. The 1070 is mostly better, and the 1660 6GB is mostly better. But this is interesting because it is 8 gigs and it is around the same price, even a little bit cheaper. Actually, much cheaper, come to think of it, because I paid 1,300 Rand for this yesterday, and that equates to about $80. Now, I know in America those aren't the best prices, but the markets are a little bit different. Something like a 1660 could cost you twice as much. I just sold a 1660 for 2,400 Rand, and that is about $170, maybe a little bit less. So, you know, for what this costs, it is a very competitive option. And just to give you a good look at it, I really like the way it looks. It's very unique, and I've always liked FXF, so I was pretty keen to get my hands on one of these. And now this does need a single, where are my hands? This is so confusing. A single, there we go, 8-pin power connector. So you will need at least, I would say at least a 500 watt, but probably a 600 watt power supply to run this well. I haven't checked the specs on that, that's just my guess. So we got a little PC there that we're going to build this in, and we are going to do some testing. I've been looking forward to this one for a while. Let's see how it games in 2024. Let's do it. As a little side note, before we get into it, I forgot to say this PC there is kind of what I would pair with this card. So it is a budget case, budget power supply, budget CPU, motherboard, RAM, all of that. So what it has is a 7th gen i5, which is a quad core 4 thread, and 16 gigs of 2666 megahertz DDR4 RAM, and just a budget gigabyte motherboard with a 512 SSD, that's kind of standard, and a 2 terabyte HDD. Now this will be a good gaming PC, but to not, let me not elaborate here too much and just show you. So let's get into it. Let's test it. Okay, getting into the benchmark for Far Cry New Dawn, and just so you know, this little screen here is showing the temperature of the GPU, and right now it's pretty good. 60 for gaming is very good. Looking at the benchmark, this is running at HD high, and we are getting about 70 average right now, and it is steadily rising, capping out at about 90 right now. Obviously this looks really good. This PC is made for, this kind of gaming, and we have that little dip there, as we always do, as the helicopter takes off. But still at around 71 average, and yeah, I have a feeling that this is going to be a good 60 FPS average PC, especially with this RX 580 that, these days is, perfect really for budget HD gaming. And for me, I paid very little for this card. I paid around $70 for it. Now I know overseas that's what it goes for, but here in South Africa that's a really good price. And looking at the result, we did end up at 66 average, 92 maximum, and 12 minimum, but it is in that dip there that the minimum was reached, and it is running at high HD. So yeah, that's a really good result because it is a graphically quite a demanding game, but of course the 8 gigabytes of VRAM helps a lot. So with that said, let's move to the next one. Let's do it. Okay, getting into the benchmark for Hitman. Um, this is running in DirectX 12 and getting a little bit low on the average there, but it will steadily rise as we move through the test. The GPU is incredibly only at 52 degrees Celsius, which is very good. And the average for the game is rising. It is at around 45 right now, and this is running at maximum settings, and it looks really good. So it's running on Ultra on HD, and yeah, like I said, it looks good. Now, one limit that we do have here is that CPU. Let's see how the CPU is doing in terms of temperature. That's also very good. So this system is running very cool, and I have to give props to Gumdias for this because this case was only 700 Rand, which is about $40. So yeah, you get a screen, you get 3 fans. Okay, it is fixed RGB, but just look at this thing. It is really nice looking, and it has a lot of airflow. It has the screen. Probably the best budget case right now, but that's not what the video is about. So getting back to the video, the PC is struggling a little bit on Hitman. It is getting about 46 average, so not the best, but still quite a decent result, and very playable, of course. I do think the CPU is limiting us a bit in this one because it is a quad-core CPU, but Hitman is quite CPU dependent because of the amount of humanoids and the amount of things going on in the scene that is not just graphical. It's a lot of AI that has to be processed, and so it can put quite a strain on your graphics card. But you know, around 50 is not a bad result. It's not perfect, but it's decent. So with that said, not bad. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, getting into the benchmark for Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I apologize for the glare on the screen. There's a bit too much light in the room right now, but as you can see, the FPS is right around that 60 mark, as I was predicting for most games with this setup. Now I do think that the card is being capped a little bit by the CPU and RAM. This is not the fastest RAM, and the timings on it aren't too good either, and also it is running at single slot there, so it's not dual channel, which makes a bit of a difference too. So I do think we are limiting ourselves. If we had a 6-core CPU and another RAM stick, we would probably be getting another 10 or 15 FPS. But with that said, this result isn't bad at all, and this is running at high settings, so it's not like this is unplayable. We are getting around that 60 mark that I was aiming for, and these temperatures are incredible, which is, you know, which is quite something. 50 on the CPU and 65 on the GPU. That is really good, and I just can't get around how good this case is doing. But it's also that design of XFX on that GPU. It's a really good shroud, and there's a lot of metal on the back plate and on the shroud, and so there's a lot of heat being moved through it. I think it's a really good shroud, and I've always admired XFX's approach to graphics card design. With that said, yeah, you can see here the problem we run into with the slow CPU and RAM. There's a lot of pop-in because that CPU isn't able to load everything as quick as it should, and it isn't being stored to the RAM quickly enough. So, you know, but apart from that, the FPS is absolutely fine. It's pretty good. I do think we would get around 120 if we had better RAM and CPU, but you know, it's not like it's bad. I think this is more than playable, and it looks fantastic too. We are running this at high settings, so obviously a very good result at HD. And one thing that I will say is it's very stable. I'm not running Afterburner right now, but I think that frame graph would be very smooth. So definitely a good result, and while the CPU is struggling a bit, it is also quite stable. It's not causing any major frame drops, and you know, so far we haven't even gone below 50. We went below 50 there for the first time, so you know, at high settings, definitely a good result for a sub $300 computer. Very good, and yeah, you can, I mean, gaming is becoming really cheap, so good result. Let's move on to the last one. Let's do it. Okay, getting into Doom Eternal here, and we are currently running it at high settings. at HD, of course. And yeah, visually there isn't a big difference between high and ultra to my eyes. There probably is, but I can't see it. And so I do think it's okay to run this game at high, and we are getting above 100 FPS for the most part here, which is obviously a really good result. We are getting around 100, I should say. So yeah, not disappointed in the result so far. It looks really good. It feels very smooth. We are getting about 10 milliseconds on that frame time there, so that's really good. And overall, it is looking like a very good performance here. This card has impressed me in the short time that I've had it. I've always wanted to try it, and I'm glad that I, have been able to now. And it has definitely been an impressive card to use and to experience. It's not obviously one of the best ones you can buy for that money, because I do think the 1660 outperforms it quite a lot. But the 8 gigs of VRAM kind of makes this card a unique proposition, because you can turn the texture settings to maximum in almost any game. And that's quite attractive, because even if you put the rest of the settings at medium and you put that texture resolution, that texture setting to ultra, the game is going to look a lot better. And I'm thinking about games like Red Dead Redemption 2, for instance. Running that game at medium, but then putting the texture settings to ultra, you would still get above 60 FPS. And right now we are at around 73 FPS, so it has dropped. But let's see what happens if we do go ultra. I am curious, because I don't think it's going to make much of a difference. Let's go ultra nightmare actually. So we've dropped 10 frames only. So and I think that will be different when we go into more combat heavy areas, because the combat is finished now. But still getting in that same range from 60 to 100 FPS, and this is now running at maximum settings. And obviously it looks amazing. I mean, look at that. That GPU is still really cool. The CPU is really cool as well. So, wow. I'm really impressed by the graphics card and by the case and by the whole PC, really. I think, for what this cost, I know I've already done a video on this case, but for the CPU, the motherboard, the graphics card, the case, and the SSD and the power supply, I paid under $300. I think like $250. So, you can add the screen for another $50, and you have $300, and then you have this gaming setup that is sort of matching entry-level consoles. And so, wow, PC gaming is becoming very, very approachable and very cheap. So yeah, I'm very happy with this result. I feel like everything ran at about the level that I thought it was going to. Now, you do have some upgrade room with the CPU and RAM, so if you add another $100 to this, you are going to be playing anything at 60 FPS, even games like Call of Duty and The Last of Us. And that's the thing about this card, is that 8 gigs of VRAM. So, okay, let me do the outro, and let's talk about it. Stay with me. So, there we have it. The almost said GTX 580. The RX 580 has impressed me. It really has. I feel like there are limitations to it. And of course, I am talking about, it's not the fastest card in terms of just raw specs now. But the fact that this has 8 gigs of VRAM makes this a very unique card. This model is also very cool. It is running, okay, it's running at 70 now, but that's still really cool because I've been gaming for about an hour. And yeah, I feel like it is doing really well. So good job to XFX. I know this is a way older card right now and they aren't going to hear this, but I just feel like this is still such a value in 2024 because of everything that I've said. And you can build a PC like this for so cheap now that I just feel it is definitely worth it. If your budget is sub 400, even sub 300, doing something like this makes so much sense, and you're going to be so happy with it if you just want to play esports games and entry-level AAA games at reasonable graphics, at reasonable frame rates. So yeah, I'm super impressed. I haven't done AMD in a while in terms of graphics cards. And yeah, I think that this is worth getting, this card. This is sort of like a PC card hybrid video, but I really feel like this card has a very good value proposition right now. You aren't going to be able to play the newest AAA games at the highest graphics just because of the age of the card, but you will be able to turn those textures up, and that's going to help a lot for the visuals. So for HD gaming, 60 FPS, you can't beat this. I mean, of course a 1660 Ti or 1070 beats this, but they are almost twice this price, well, in South Africa anyway. So, you know, for value-wise, dollar to performance, you're not going to beat this. And therefore I think this is a must-buy if you are looking for something in the $60 to $80 ballpark. So, with that said, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. It's been a little bit difficult making time to do videos, but I'm just going to keep doing it when I have time, and you know, this is all about fun for me, so just going to do what I can. Now I will be stopping my PC business quite soon because we are moving, and so you know, the video types might change from reviews like this more to build guides, but we'll see how it goes and we'll see where the channel goes. But with that said, I should probably answer that. Thanks for watching. Cheers.